042, Reel 4.
Mr. Eric Potton, Reel 4. We were talking about that you were at Gouzeaucourt. You were there about 3 days before the attack.
That's right.
Besides the camouflage, were there any sort of other restrictions on your movement or behaviour during those 3 days?
Well, we weren't allowed to do any work in the daytime, but thankfully we had a rather thick fog for the last 2 days, and that helped us a lot to keep quiet, because you see it was a very hush-hush exercise, and even the guns were not allowed to register on the German lines. So they didn't know anything about any attack coming at all.
And you weren't allowed to talk about what you were, I presume?
Well, we didn't know all that was happening, but it didn't matter much talking amongst yourselves. We're isolated, you see.
Now, on the last day, you know, the thing. How did it? What did you have to do to get ready? I mean, you were in the.
No, you used to have to fill up with water and oil and see that all the tracks were clean as could be, and if they wanted to put spuds on, which were large plates onto the tracks to get a bit of grip, they used to do all that, you see.
And that would be done. You were in the fighting team this time, weren't you?
Yes, that's right.
So that would be done by the maintenance team, would it?
No, it was done by everybody at Cambrai. Yeah, there wasn't so much a maintenance team at Cambrai till later on, you see. And
what about the fascines? Would you fix them as well?
The fascines were already on, you see, when they came there, and we had to see that they were all ready for the line. So then at night, the last night, as soon as it got dark, certain officers went up and laid tapes right up to our lines, which way, so that the tanks could go up without any lights or anything, you see.
Would they be the reconnaissance officers?
Some would, and some would be. Some of the battalion officers, of course, went up as well, you see. Yes, some of the reconnaissance officers. And
would they lay the tapes on their own, or would they have a couple of men with them to help them?
Oh, they'd have somebody to go up with them, naturally. There wouldn't be too many, you see.
You didn't do that?
I didn't do that, no. No, we didn't go up. They were going up with the tanks. It was the ones who were more likely to be behind afterwards, you see. They were left behind. Then, on the morning of the 20th, we went up to within, a few hundred yards of our line, you see. And we stopped and waited there. Then, about, what time was it, 3, 4, something like that, 5 in the morning, the guns opened up on their trenches, on the German trenches, and laid down a terrific barrage. There'd been hundreds of guns being brought up, you see. And we went forward then.
Did you get any rum before you went forward? Were you given a rum ration?
Generally gave you a rum ration before you went in, yes.
Did you drink it?
Sometimes. It just depended. I don't remember having any rum going in there, But we used to get it at different times, you see. We didn't always take it across.
So, and you were in a female.
I was in a female tank. That was
which mark was it? Do you remember?
Mark 4.
And now you don't remember the name, but you've got an idea what it might be.
I think it was Foggie. They're all Fs, you see. F Battalion. So it was. They were all counted as Fs, you see. It was a 6th Battalion, but it was F Battalion, so they're all Fs then.
So you're not quite sure?
Not quite sure of the name, no.
Now, as we go on, could you just tell us now what the crew, what each man of the crew was doing that day on Cambrai? So you'd have the officer.
Well, the officer and NCO sat at the front, driving the tank. You call it driving it, of course. They only had levers, you see, for brakes, more or less, than anything. And machine gun, of course. They had a machine gun in the front as well. Then there were two machine guns on each sponson. Those were the big sides that held the machine guns or the 6-pounders. They came out, you see.
In yours, it was a machine gun.
There were 2 machine guns each side. That's 4 machine guns, 5 machine guns, you see.
Do you remember which side you were on?
I was on the left side, going in. And
who else was in the crew?
That's 6. There were 2 more. There were 2 more.
The gearsman.
Gearsman, and of course one of the gunners would help the gearsman occasionally, you see, if they wanted to move quickly. They wanted to shift quickly. They were the gearsmen, you see.
So there's a crew of 8 in all?
That's right.
And so you started moving forward?
That's right.
So could you just tell us the story? And I won't interrupt you. I'll ask the questions at the end.
Well, of course, we went forward as fast as we could. It wasn't very fast, of course, in those days, 5 or 6 miles an hour, I suppose. We got to the main line, the what do you call it, line? The German. We got to the German lines, and then we got into the wire. There was wire before you got to the lines, you see. And it was terrific wire. Very, very great in depth and height.
Could you estimate that?
Well, we reckoned somewhere about 15 or 16 feet in depth and about 9 foot high in places.
And was the tank under fire at this stage as you moved over the British line and towards the Hindenburg Line?
It was under fire, but not so much because they were taken so much by surprise. And to see these things coming towards them, a lot of the Germans got down into the dugouts, you see. We sort of picked them off as we went along. When we got through the line, one tank went forward and dropped its fascine in the German trench, and then another tank dropped a fascine. When it had dropped its fascine, it went along the front of the trench.
The front, the British side of the German trench.
British side, and the next tank came over and dropped another fascine, and that went along the side, and then the next one went forward.
The other way.
Yes, and then the next tank, having something to go on, it went through, you see.
And it didn't drop its fascine.
Well, it might have dropped its fascine if it was needed, you see, or it may kept it in case it got held up by a small lot of trench.
Now, would the machine gun tanks, would they have any special role And I mean, would they be the ones who went along the trench?
They were shooting along the tank, shooting along the German trenches. You see, they came along the front, went like that, and then they were shooting right along, keeping them underneath. And the infantry, of course, were coming on behind, so the infantry mopped them up.
So your tank, what did your tank do when it reached the line? You were the ones who dropped it and then turned along?
No, we went straight on.
You went over?
We went straight over, that's right.
So you were the third tank?
I should think we were about the third tank. As far as we know, you never knew what was it, how many tanks. You didn't know what tanks were in. You couldn't see, you see. You could see nothing except just that little bit where the gun goes out. You could see nothing else when you're inside the tank. The officer and driver they could see where they were going, but they had only a very small slit for that because they'd have been wiped out with a machine gun or anything like that to your front.
So they had limited viewpoint, and you had very limited.
Yes, they're limited just along the sights of the gun, more or less, you see.
And what did you see through those sights as you went over the top?
Always see was their trench, more or less. You couldn't tell whether you were shooting at anybody or not when you first went in, you see.
So you just fire generally? You
fired generally along their trenches. On each side, you see, you were firing each side. And there wasn't much resistance at that time.
So you weren't under a lot of fire?
We were under a lot of machine gun fire, but not to cause any casualties or anything, you see, really. Of course, they got some guns up later, I suppose, because that's why some of the tanks were knocked out. But
when you went in, were you scared this first time?
No, I don't think we were.
What did you feel?
I've been asked that before. You sort of felt you were all right in the tank, sort of thing. You never thought of anything else like that, you see.
Were you excited, or what sort of...
I suppose there must be a certain amount of excitement, naturally. Excitement and noise, and barbed wire flying past you and that sort of thing, you see, going past you.
What about, what did the German machine gun bullets have any effect inside the tank?
Only if they got near the gun ports, where the machine guns came out. If bullets hit inside that, sometimes they chipped off pieces. So for that reason, we wore those chainmail masks. I don't know if you've ever seen one.
I've seen them in the museum. Could you describe them for us, though, what they were like to wear?
Well, they weren't very nice to wear. Because you were looking through slats like that, you see. And up here was steel, a steel band here, and then the chainmail came down here. Because they'd got such a lot of casualties, the people getting bits off the tank, you see, chipping it off on the inside. It chipped off onto people's faces, and there were a lot of casualties that way.
So the gunners, were the gunners, who else wore them? Everybody in the tank, or just the gunners?
Well, I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised. They all had them, you see, so I suppose they would, if they thought there was any use at the time.